Glad that we're here at Hanuman Maui. And Dasi, thank you again so much for inviting me. And so the topic that Dasi proposed today was the Guru and Karma Yoga. So those are two really interesting subjects. And of course, the Guru around Guru Purnima is a really great thing to discuss what it is to each of us. As I was preparing for it, and I was aware that it means so many different things to so many different people, and so many different people have had so many different kinds of experiences with the Guru. So it was hard to sort of define and go like, this is what the Guru is. But we're going to explore the full aspect of it. Before we begin, I want to start with a chant, and this is the Guru Purnima chant. It's the chant that you chant on Guru Purnima. It's Om Guru Bhyo Namaha. Om Guru Bhyo Namaha. So it's a repetition. Om Guru Bhyo Namaha. And Om Guru Bhyo Namaha simply means, so Om, you're calling on the great cosmos. It's like the beginning of all things. You call on God, beyond God, the great Om. Then it says Guru. The Guru is Gu and Ru. It means someone who leads you from the darkness to the light, someone who dispels darkness. And then Bhyo means all of the gurus, everywhere, anywhere. So it's like all the ascended masters who have come, who have gone, who you have in your life, who are in a body, not in a body. And Namaha is like I bow down to. Now in India there are things when you pranam, many people pranam in a child's pose. Full danda pranams is when you like lay your body flat out. So Namaha, I always picture like Om Namaha, like flat out pranams, like I'm on my face, my hands are at the feet of the Guru, and I'm full out in a posture of humility. So this chant, Om Guru Bhyo Namaha, Om Guru Bhyo Namaha. We're simply invoking in the presence of all the masters that ever were, that ever was, that ever will be, all the masters in your life. So as we chant it, think about teachers in your life of all different kinds. I want to say this. So this aspect of Guru has changed over time. So if you go back to ancient times, a teacher was very, very important. Prior to television and the internet and Zoom, if you wanted to find knowledge, someone who was knowledgeable, you had to find a person, okay? So people held the knowledge and people passed this knowledge on to other people. And that lineage of guru and disciple was very sacred in India and still is. And in many other cultures, really not that sacred in the same way. So the teacher, even in schools, the teachers are very honored as knowledge holders. And like in the United States, certainly teachers have lost a lot of respect. They're constantly, fighting, it seems, for respect from the parents, respect from, at least in this day and age, unions. Yeah. At least in this day and age, it didn't necessarily used to be that way, but certainly in India, teachers are very well respected for being holders of knowledge. Now there are teachers, like teachers in school, and then there are acharyas. So acharyas mean they are teachers of life's curriculum. They are spiritual teachers, so they're different than a teacher who's teaching you science. An acharya is someone who teaches from life curriculum. They're teaching you spirituality. They're teaching you to be a better person. And they're really these dispellers of darkness to the light. So we're simply going to chant this. As we chant Om Guru Bhyo Namaha, Om Guru Bhyo Namaha, I'd like you to close your eyes and invoke in your own heart true gratitude for the teachers that you've had in your life of all different kinds, from your parents to your grandparents, to teachers in school, to yoga teachers, to anyone who may have made a difference in your life in some way, somehow. Okay? I'm going to use the Shruti box here and just hit hit a tone, and we'll go from there. So. Om Gurubhyo Namaha. 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 So with your eyes closed, feel a sense of gratitude for all of the beings that have graced you with some new shift in perception, some knowledge, some wisdom, some life experience, who have passed on their knowing to you. And send gratitude to them, to all of them. And then visualize that all of these teachers that you have and hold in your heart, that those teachers had teachers. And those teachers of the teachers had teachers. And the teachers' teachers' teachers had teachers. And follow that sacred lineage of transmission back to the ancient knowledge and wisdom that remains the same and that comes to us today from this ancient lineage. Draw your palms together in front of your heart. Om Gurubhyo Namaha. Yes.
Did you know that in Hawaiian, the word for teacher is kumu, which also translates as source?
Ooh.
So at the Hawaiian schools where I worked, all the students call me kumu. They call everybody kumu just in general.
Kumu, that's
Kumu
nice.
is like a generic name for source.
Wow, the source of knowledge. Yeah, that's wonderful. That's really, it's lovely.
That's what they call a teacher at a Hawaiian school, and there's respect before anything else.
I love that. Yep. So again, this aspect of respect for our teachers. So again, as I was talking about Guru, many of us here have different experiences with what it means to have a guru or not have a guru. And I wanted to read something from Ram Dass. I asked Kaki, we've been reading this book, and Miracle of Love. And I asked Kaki, as she was looking at it today, if there was anything in here that Ram Dass may have said about gurus. And this is what he says in the very opening. I'm often asked if it's necessary to have a guru in the flesh. Well, I think it is most beneficial to meet such a being in a body. My seeing the way in which this book has affected people shows me that it is definitely not necessary. There is no doubt in my mind that many of the people who have started to know Maharaji only through tapes or the written word now know him as intimately as I do, or as any of those who sat with him in India. The real proof of our connection with him is the ultimate transformation of our own lives into an expression of the amalgam of these many qualities that his being showed. May it be so. Ram Dass, that was 1995. Yeah. So that's, I want to talk about my personal journey around a guru because it began with Ram Dass and Be Here Now. And in there, he says this quote that comes from India, which is, when you're ready, the guru appears. So I know many of us read that book and we're like, oh my God, I wish I had met Maharaji. I wish I'd been with Maharaji. I mean, you know, such an incredible, you know, seemingly ascended master and saint, you know, what it would have been like to have been in his presence. And then it's like, well, you know, such a handful of people had that experience on this planet, comparatively. Right on the way here, I Googled how many people are on the planet today. 8 billion. 8 billion people. And then it's like, we have to say to ourselves, like, look around here. We are a small group of people sitting here today in Ram Dass's house on Maui, celebrating the Guru, celebrating Guru Purnima. And this is a small group of people. Like, we got to go, that's pretty special. And just the grace of the fact that we're sitting in this room together, there's something to that. That, you know, out of 8 billion people, you're here. Like, so, you know, and Maharaji's presence is all around the room. And Ram Dass's presence is here. And, you know, we got brought here. That's not an accident. If we're in a place where we don't, you know, believe in accidents, it's like, wow, this is an amazing confluence of grace, you know, that we get to sit here out of 8 billion people. I certainly feel graced about that. So I know after reading that, okay, when you are ready, the guru will appear. I wanted nothing more than a guru. I wanted to have the experience. I was constantly waiting, praying, you know, looking and searching out saints, because I had a lot of head knowledge. I had a lot of people who said they knew, but there's a big difference when you're in the presence of someone who, without saying a word, shifts your experience of reality. I feel completely 100% convinced, if that's even a word, because it's beyond conviction, that Maharaji led me to the experience of living at Kripalu. So I lived in a yoga ashram, had a guru, Amrita Sai, and Swami Kripalu. For many, many years, I would still say that Yogi Desai and Swami Kripalu are my gurus. And I love that. I love the practice of having a guru. So I'd like to tell more about that at a certain point. But I also want to say that I never met Maharaji, and definitely by reading this book, Maharaji's presence opened up to me. And I began to speak with him and talk with him and see him and had pictures of him and feel like I was having real interactions with him. And when you create, so this is just a methodology, maybe that's all, you know, my imagination. I don't believe that it is, but, you know, imagination is a good way to start. But then coincidences start happening where it's like, okay, that's a little bit beyond my imagination. Now I'm getting realities being played with in a way where it's like, wow, Maharaji's presence really opened up. So I want to liken it to, I brought a picture of Jesus. This picture, I love this because this was by my grandmother's bed all her life, and now it's by my bed all my life. And many people talk about in the Christian religion, they talk about having a personal relationship with Jesus. Like, what does that mean? In essence, it's the same thing as like having a personal relationship with Maharaji. It's like if, these beings, these masters, are people who remind us, my favorite words, that we are infinite, eternal, and whole, because I think that's the basis that any great master comes to teach us is, you are infinite, eternal, whole consciousness. You cannot be harmed. Let's all remember this together. Ascended masters have remembered it. We've forgotten it. They're just here to remind us so that we can become, quote, enlightened. We can become the light. And light in science, it's not just a metaphor of dispelling from the darkness to the light. It's truly becoming light. It's physics, because light is the only thing that's indestructible. And consciousness and light go together. So in yoga, doing practices to become enlightened, there's this aspect of, Swami Kripalu always talked about, he was doing the practices to become his light body, to come into his light body. And that doesn't mean any, there's the physical body, but then there's the light body. So these practices that we do are about invoking and waking up our light body. Anybody want to say anything about their experience with a guru at anywhere, along the way? I'd love to hear some of the varieties of experiences, from wanting one to having one to, thinking that you have one. I'd love to hear, just so that we can talk about teachers, but specifically this aspect of guru.
Personally, I love Maharaji, but for me, it was Ram Dass who was the interpreter of what Maharaji said. So for me, Ram Dass is the doorway to my guru.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel much closer. Of course, living with him for 15 years makes a difference too.
Mm-hmm.
But Ram Dass was really, really in tune, and he believed. You talked about the imagination. Ram Dass felt that after Maharaji died, he was much closer to Maharaji than he was before, because he actually came inside.
Mm-hmm. Beautiful, beautiful. And so you served Ram Dass, which was so wonderful, for 15 years. And I love in meditation, often I hear you say, I've had the great fortune of serving Ram Dass for 15 years in his body, and I'm still serving him now, when he's not in his body, which I really think is so beautiful. And this act of devotion towards our teacher, our guru, is a highly transformative practice. And I'm sure that you feel like you got transformed personally by caring for and loving Ram Dass. And I know that practice of this is why, he said in the book, it can be really helpful to have a guru in person, because that aspect of having a real person to say, wow, this is a person and I'm going to choose to make them my beloved, my beloved guru, my beloved teacher, and to treat them like God. And in truth, like the teachings of Christianity are, treat everyone as God, treat everyone as the Lord, treat everyone as Christ, treat everyone as your guru. But it's really great to start with, a person. And I know at Kripalu, the practice of honoring the guru was a huge practice. And in this practice, let's just say there's the lover and there's the beloved. The one who actually really benefits, like we often think that it's the beloved, like they're receiving all this love. And I would say that's actually not true. It's the lover. The person who is being the lover, it's the love that's moving through them, that is transforming them. And I often say that one of the main things that Yogi Desai did was he simply allowed us to love him. And we loved him. And we loved him in ceremony, and we loved him in ritual, and we loved him throughout the day. And by loving him, and I couldn't have sat in that chair and allowed people to bow at my feet and bring me gifts and give me money and, put me in the place of God for them. I would not have been able to handle that, And yet he was able to handle it in a way where really there was not ego there around it. And the love that we shared with him really was self-transforming.
Since you're speaking of Yogi Amrit Desai, I think the point I would bring in for me is in any relationship I've had with a guru, it's been important for me to realize that that guru was also human.
Mm-hmm.
I happened to meet Yogi Amrit Desai, not at Kripalu, but right after he fell from grace, I was with a group in the Holy Lands, and he was there, and it was the first time he'd been in public, and it was my very first time being with him at this particular point in his trajectory. And for so many gurus...
And this was in India or in Jerusalem?
No, it wasn't in India. We were in Israel. And Palestine.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's so fun.
January of 95.
Yep.
That time.
Mm-hmm.
Which would have meaning for you in terms of on the
Yep.
side. But there's a lot of room in me for gurus to be not superhuman, or if they are superhuman, then also human.
Mm-hmm.
And I would say that for Amrit Desai, because he wasn't any less for me because of the point in the trajectory that I met him, but it was an unusual one compared to yours.
Absolutely. And I still remain very close to him, so I've been through all of that with him,
Yes.
which
After that, this now was how many, going on 20 years
right,
ago.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway, that would be my experience of Guru.
It's great, and I'm glad you brought that up, because for me, which is not true for many people at Kripalu, so for those of you who know, in 94, so Barry's saying he met Amrit Desai in 95. In 94, Amrit Desai was ousted from Kripalu, which was a huge, psychological experiment, let's just say that. So the ashram fell down. Now this was happening all over America at that time. Same thing was happening with Bhagwan Sri Rajneesh, Shivananda, Satchidanand, all the gurus were being, coming forth. What happened for me was I was in a personal relationship with him. So I loved him. I was in many ways his closest disciple. I was his assistant. I was with him 24/7, and I left before that happened because I knew what was going on, and I really couldn't stay, and I felt like I was sort of an accomplice. So we processed out personally, but I always loved him, was always in communication with him, and didn't feel deceived by him, and then things hit the fan, blah, 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 a number of other things, but I continue to be in touch, and the point being this, that for me, he is still my guru, and I still use the the practice of loving him to love myself, and to really, truly love him. The amount that this man has given me, it far exceeds anything that, that went wrong. And again, I've learned a lot about love and forgiveness in the process of continuing to be in a loving relationship. And I think that's one of the aspects of having a guru, where you're like, I'm going to use this relationship to transform me, through the act of love. So that's... Anybody else, a guru story?
Been joked that, oh, you're a delicious worm, so it's okay. And over time, he allowed me to touch his feet and press his feet even if I wasn't a caregiver, just towards the end of his life. But he would refuse to take that honor of being a guru because he wanted us all to surrender to Maharaji.
Mm-hmm.
The source,
Mm-hmm.
not particularly Maharaji as a person, but that bigger source, and
Yep.
not get attached to just his Ramdas's form. And I found that very it gave me strength
Mm-hmm.
to accept the fact that even Ramdas's physical presence is impermanent, but the love he's showering upon us, the path he's showing us, leads us to that what we don't have a name for.
Mm-hmm. Beautiful. Yeah.
So I really owe that to him of keeping that attachment very constantly
Clean,
reminded,
yeah.
do not get attached to this form.
Beautiful. Yeah, and it seems like, what he did was passed on a practice again. Like, it's like the practice is, yes, devote yourself to the Guru, devote yourself to love, devote yourself to this, to Maharaji, who is an example and a representation of that consciousness that we seek. And so, how beautiful for him to give you that practice, and then, to have it with him. It's like, you may not want to have it, but I do love you, and I'm going to continue to use you also as a devotional practice. It's beautiful. And that energy for me is definitely felt here. That bhakti energy is, I think, what keeps this place going. That Maharaji's grace for sure. Any other guru stories? Yes, Lily?
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
You go now.
Okay, so for me, an example of a teacher, not a guru, but a teacher would have been my first Zen teacher. And, we signed up and we went every 3-4 times a week, and weekends and the whole weekend. And he was like a Marine drill sergeant. And was, in some ways, was very knowledgeable, picked up concepts really quickly, could read a book on Monday and teach it on Friday. But I found out that he was lying about everything. He was lying about being a Roshi. He had no idea. He had hardly any credentials whatsoever.
Wow.
But yet, I learned so much from Zen and a lot about spirituality.
Mhm.
So, even though I knew that he wasn't the right person until I found a better, more accomplished Zen teacher, I continued with him.
That's cool. That's cool. So again, there's teachers all along the way.
Yeah.
That's wonderful. Lily?
I was inspired by what Priti said, but it's sort of coming up in other ways too. When I first read the Ramayana and learned about the story of Hanuman, what I really got from that story was almost that Hanuman was like the messenger of God. Hanuman wasn't God, but Hanuman was almost the daily presentations, the things that put you in contact with God, right? Like Hanuman brings the gold ring, this physical object, to Sita. And Sita doesn't have Ram, but she has this symbol. She has this item, and that puts her in touch. And so for me, I sort of started appreciating Hanuman, or the message of Hanuman, almost as Hanuman is the daily presentations, the butterfly that flies by and catches your eye or something that reminds you, like, oh, divinity, And so much of what we're talking about is like living gurus, non-living gurus, Ram Dass saying, I'm not the guru,
Mm-hmm.
And so imagination really is super important here.
Mhm.
But also, like, the message of Hanuman that I got, at least, was like daily presentations, physical things can do it. And if so, put yourself in touch with those physical things, right? Put the stone on your altar that puts you in touch.
Mm-hmm.
Have a pet that makes you get there. Hang out with friends that put you in touch, right? Like, it's almost like set up your life with the physical things that remind you, but the physical things aren't God themselves. You know. So I don't know if this is making sense, but
It
was
is,
such a
yeah.
beautiful lesson that I got from that story.
It's beautiful. And of course, one of the many things that I love about, Hinduism, I don't even like to say the word Hinduism because Hinduism was actually a word that the British came over and they really couldn't understand the confusion of all that yoga holds. So they were like, let's just call it Hinduism. And now in our American minds, we put it all in a box, like Hinduism. And it's just can't really be put in a box. And one of the many things that I love is the amount of infinite manifestations of God. Like, so any form of God, God is a monkey, God is an elephant, God is Shiva, the transformer, God is Brahma, the creator, God is Krishna, the lover, like you name it, there's a form out there that really works for you and for your heart. And in different times of your life, there's gods to call on at different times. I love that because it brings up the imagination, but it also has us, hold this higher ideal. And actually, it does, and I think you were getting to this, Lily, it does sort of make the veil from materialism to the realm of spirituality thinner. When we have this practice of holding on to teachers, gurus, those beyond, it thins the veil, at least it does for me, where things happen in the material realm, that are out of the ordinary. Or God winks, as many people like to call them.
Same with concepts of yoga. You remind us over and over again that yoga isn't about the postures, the asanas. It's about simpler things.
Yep. It's not about the form.
And simpler movement form.
Yep. Any other guru stories? Yeah, Grace.
Well, I would say, first of all, there's no doubt that I'm here because of Ram Dass. I read the same book you did, probably the same year you did, or maybe not, 71. I thought it was 70, and had the exact same feeling that you expressed the other day. Oh, somebody thinks the way I do. Oh my God, this is great. Finally somebody I can listen to and talk to. When I read that book at that time, 1971 or whatever it was, 70, it was always Ram Dass. I mean, Maharaji was there, Hanuman, but it was for me always Ram Dass as a guy. And I read that 50 years later, here in 21, after when we were building the temple, reread it, and I said, oh my God, I can't believe how much this book has informed my life. Like, I have lived this book for the last 50 years, and here I am now, with all of you. So that was really wonderful. And then one time when I was studying the Hanuman Chalisa, it kind of dawned on me, like, oh, I get it. Hanuman is to this, Bhakti Yoga or the Hindus or whatever, whoever, as Christ is to the Christians. That subpack, they're one. So I started to, for me, Jesus and Hanuman started to merge.
Oh, I love that.
But
see, for me, Jesus and Krishna merge.
Okay, and so as I'm here and deepening my knowledge and my understanding of all this, because I don't have a background in Bhakti Yoga or any of this, I would say that for me, the guru is the land. My guru. I mean, I would take Jesus as my guru. If I had to take one person, just because that's been my tradition, but not in the Christian sense, like religious, dogmatic sense. But I think for me now, I take the land as my guru, because Source expresses itself through the land. And if you're very observant, all of the elements that combine and move through us, it's all a work of God. It's God's work. And we're lucky enough to embrace it, to work with it, to put our hands in the dirt, to eat the food, to share with each other. So I guess bottom line, for me, my guru is the land.
I love that. That's beautiful. Yeah, beautiful. I want to say something about, how you read the book and then you read it again like 50 years later,
exactly.
And you're like, oh my God, I have been doing this, like, wow. And I do feel the same way, like, wow, that book, read it, changed my life, and it really changed my life. Like, I can see the whole trajectory, like, been living that book out ever since. And I do believe that, I mean, my experience is that I definitely read that book, was praying to Maharaji, had his picture, was like really in, you know, come on, guy, help me out. And, you know, those prayers worked, you know, it brought me into a deep yoga practice. And it was like, okay, this was where I went was what was available, you know, for me at the time. And I feel, again, out of 8 billion people, wow, the experience that I had in regards to yoga and yoga practice in the United States, you know, at this time, that was a pretty, you know, pretty blessed experience to have, to be with a community of people who were practicing these practices. And really, so Guru, dispeller of darkness, bringing you from the darkness to the light. Any true guru is meant to bring you to what is called your Sadguru, S-A-D or sometimes S-A-T, guru. The Sadguru is the inner guru. Like any guru is meant to bring you to wake up inside of you your own inner knowledge, your own inner connection to source. That's what the true guru is meant to do, is to wake up the Sadguru within you. So this Sadguru is something that each of us has available, and that a true teacher, you know, is really, I like to call it empowering, you know. True teachers empower others. They wake them up. They wake up their own witness consciousness. They wake up their own consciousness. So that is the meaning of an acharya versus a teacher, a real guru. Anybody else, a Guru Pono?
I had encounters with what I want to call false gurus early on in my university days. And I had been turned on to the Be Here Now book, and unbeknownst to me, Ram Dass had attended the same university that I was at. And I was very strongly pulled to be at that school at a very young age, and I had no idea why. But now I've been having aha moments ever since that. But these gurus would come through and they'd give you a mantra, and you'd be with the weekly group praying and chanting. And then another one would come through several months later, and they, in secret, in private, they hear they want to ask you your mantra that you had been given, and they say, no, not that one, and they give you another one. And I just thought, what is this malarkey? You know, it didn't really register. And then I went to yoga teacher training, and I liked that, and I went to Kripalu, and I liked that, and I was doing some healing things and some teaching things, and then I read Autobiography of a Yogi, and it blew my mind.
Right.
I thought,
Yep.
wow, like this is amazing.
Mm-hmm.
And the experiences that he had that we would say are like surreal and out of this body, out of this
Yep.
world, there was no doubt in my mind that those things really happened.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
And then I met a guru from India that I worked with for a few days with his entourage, and he was of the Jain faith. And we had some amazing encounters with very few words. It was that feeling like this is an enlightened master, and I was in his presence, and I was witnessing just amazing things at Hawaiian sacred sites.
Mm-hmm.
So it was transcending beyond any particular culture or faith or time and space. It was just that universal consciousness that he was mirroring. And at the airport, I guess I had left my black bag in the back of one of their cars, and one of the people there, the lead guy, called me and said, "We're going to be at the airport tomorrow morning, meet us. We want to return your bag." And I had some gifts for this particular guru, and we had a moment, and then the security made me move my car, and I was really drawn. Somehow I wasn't finished, that I needed to park my car and go back and find him. And when I went back, he was on the road with gifts to give me. Like, he was pulling me back, and I guess it worked.
It's
And
fun.
then the next thing that I found happening is coming here and hearing Hanuman Chalisa for the first time, and it just, like, I was speechless. And it still does render me speechless, and one of the things I could say is it's been helping me a lot with my boundaries, and I wasn't asking for that, but it was what was needed for me. And it's happening in a really, really nice way in many of my relationships. And of course I need to read more Ram Dass and more Maharaji, but in the meantime, you know, the whole sharing and the fellowshipping, it's been a real cosmic turn on. So thank you everybody for sharing
That's great.
all that
Yep.
you do.
Anybody else? Yashi, you have?
On that, with that, I never really have a guru, but I have many teachers, and many of them are here. I learned from all of you, and there's an old Chinese saying that when three people walk together, one of them is my teacher, and that's how I feel. Like every time I come here, I learn something from people, even poems.
That's great. Thank you. Yeah.
No beating up on
We're just mirrors.
Yeah. So what I'm hearing, what you were saying is, again, that in this group there is, and I certainly feel this, and Yashi, you're expressing it too, the word bhakti comes up. Bhakti is this aspect of love and devotion. And for me, the bhakti, the practice of bhakti, which comes out in practicing the Hanuman Chalisa and making a lovely big deal about Guru Purnima and let's paint the temple together and all of the seva, that is bhakti yoga, and it is the highest form of yoga. So I want to talk about the karma yoga, bhakti yoga, the types of yoga, and how they relate to also having a guru. So there are, and there's dispute about this, but in the beginning, there was one type of yoga, and it was bhakti. Okay, so I wanted to say about Guru Purnima. So Guru Purnima is in a lunar calendar, and it is the time of celebrating. It has to do with the moon, and it's the time of celebrating your teachers and your gurus and being grateful. So that's wonderful. It's also said to be Vyasa's birthday. So Vyas is the author of the Mahabharata and the author of the Vedas. And he is said to be the incarnation of Vishnu, and it was the first time that the sacred knowledge was put into Sanskrit writing and became the written word. So that's a big deal also. So he's sort of like, with Guru Purnima, the honoring of Vyas, this father of these yogic teachings, is part of Guru Purnima. Bhakti yoga is what the Bhagavad Gita is all about. It's all about love. This is the highest practice of yoga that there is. Love is all there is. Love is what transforms. And in the practice of bhakti yoga is what we were talking about when you decide that someone is your teacher, or in a relationship, and you get into a relationship and you say, you are my beloved. I will use you as a vehicle to transform myself. By loving you and choosing you as my beloved, I will make you the beloved. I, as the lover, will be transformed, by loving you. So that's a beautiful practice of bhakti. So this devotion that we have towards Ram Das, the devotion that we have towards Maharaji, or any others, Jesus, and all of, it's fun. I'd love to know, like in the Om Guru Bhyo Namaha, there's so many wonderful, faces up here of different masters and who have graced the earth. So bhakti yoga, chanting the Hanuman Chalisa is a form of bhakti yoga. Meditation, a mantra for the most part, kirtan, form of bhakti yoga. Doing arti and puja, and having the pictures of your saints and gods, out and being devoted to them. It's a form of bhakti yoga. And as you were saying, Lily, it's not about the pictures. It's not about this brass statue. It's not about that. It's about, wow, I'm going to use this object and say, God is everywhere, but right now I need to, because I'm in a body, let's put flower petals on this, let's decorate his feet, let's touch his feet, and through that practice of bhakti yoga, we get transformed. So bhakti yoga shows up everywhere. Bhakti yoga shows up in caring for your kids, in making a meal, in sweeping the floor, and that's the most transformative practice. So bhakti yoga is really, I think we could stop there. However, next comes karma yoga. Karma yoga is selfless service. So selfless service is putting bhakti yoga into practice. And when you decide again to get your attention off of yourself and onto others, which is really the main aspect, get your attention off of yourself and onto others. And when you have your attention onto others, and again, this is a really great thing about choosing a guru, your attention gets off of yourself and it gets onto the guru. And most people's attention is really on themselves, okay? And this aspect of taking your attention off of yourself and out onto another is where our real freedom comes. It truly is in our selfless service, in our act of loving another, where we get transformed, where the ego dissolves. When we turn inward, it doesn't happen. I'm going to give you a sort of a raw example. So I told many of you that I used to teach yoga and mindfulness in a drug and alcohol rehab center. And I'm going to exaggerate this a bit. There was this one woman who all the time she would come in, slump down in the chair, barely listen. Her attention was so inward. And whenever she said something, she'd be like, I have such low self-esteem, I can't, do that. I have such low self-esteem, I can't really help. I have such low self-esteem, I can't really answer the question. I have such low self-esteem, I can't really, it was her answer to everything. It was like, okay. Her attention, it was like, wow, this low self-esteem is so self-centered. It was like, she was like a black vortex that was just like, all the attention going there. And my thing was, get your attention off of yourself. You want to change your self-esteem? Sitting there talking about changing your self-esteem is not going to do it. Get up and straighten the pillows on the room and, pick up the cigarette butts around the pool and, put out the books, and guess what will happen to you? Your attention will get off of yourself and you'll start to feel good and you'll start to have something to be worthy about in regards to your self-esteem. So it's like, but many, many people, their attention is really inward. So this aspect of selfless service, get your attention off of yourself and onto someone, something else. At Kripalu, we were bhakti yogis first, karma yogis second. We worked our butts off. And every aspect of the work was not really for the work itself, not for the checklist of the to-do. It was like, through this work, I will transform my ego. Through washing these toilets, I will transform my ego. Through painting these door jambs, I will transform my ego. And that creates a very powerful tapas. Tapas is grist for the mill. It's one of the yamas and niyamas. So for me at Kripalu, I was a manager of many people. And at one point we had these people come in from Harvard who were studying communities. And I was their liaison between them and giving them access to what they needed in our community. And so I was very interested in their study on community and what made it work. And they were asking me questions, and I remember one of the guys asked me this question. He said, we're really confused. How do you motivate people if you don't have money? Like, because you can't say, oh, you're going to get fired, and oh, you're great, so I'm going to give you a raise, and oh, you're not so great, so we're going to take away your money. Like, how do you motivate people? And I loved that question. And I realized as a manager that, again, I used selfless service as the motivation, which was this. You're going to clean the toilets. That's your job. And you're going to clean the toilets like God is coming in to sit on this toilet. This toilet is going to sparkle and shine with your love because Babaji, Swami Kripalu, Yogi Desai, God himself is coming to sit on this toilet. So throw your ego in there. If you're sitting there washing this toilet going like, I can't believe I'm this person and I'm here cleaning this toilet, just keep scrubbing away. Scrub that until that toilet is clean and then move on to the next one. And what's so great is if you can motivate people for doing the work, for the act, for the sake of doing the work, you can motivate people for anything. I had in the realm that I worked at, I was in charge of a huge volunteer staff in terms of Kripalu. And they were getting paid nothing, but they were getting paid their personal transformation. And so to really keep people like, this is on the path of, this is not accidental. This argument that you're in with so-and-so, this is here for a reason. It came up while you were working, and it's here for a reason, and the reason is love, and you're going to transform this, and that's the only answer there is. So good on you. You're getting paid. This is how you get paid. This came up. We're going to clear this out, and you're going to get back to work, because this is really good stuff. And it wasn't about the accomplishment, you know. Another form, I told this story to Kaki the other day. So when I moved into Kripalu, I moved into this building before the rest of our community moved in. So it was a huge building, and there was a small group of 30 of us who were transforming the building. And I was in charge of painting the door jambs. Now, if you've ever seen Kripalu, it's a huge Jesuit monastery, and each floor is an acre big. So there were something like 2,000 door jambs, right? So it's like, okay, I'm going to paint 2,000 door jambs, right, with one other friend. And so these door jambs were pretty meticulous, and Yogi Desai was pretty meticulous, and I got down painting door jambs. But every day, I decided that I wanted to put mantra into the building. And so our mantra is the 12-syllable mantra, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So every day from 10 to 11, we would chant mantra out loud. So we were painting door jambs, and it was Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Now, if you do that for an hour, and then someone says, stop, your brain is Om Namo Bhagavate, but it doesn't stop. It just keeps going and going and going. So we would record how many mantras got chanted, how many people chanted, and we did it from 10 to 11 and from 3 to 4 every day, but many people did way more than that. And again, here we were doing selfless service and chanting mantra and transforming our minds and having so much fun. You know, so these practices of selfless service and personal transformation through action are really powerful. That's a lot of what's going on here. I know Dasi is, runs this crew, and Preeti, when she comes, really helped this group to stay in a place of bhakti and karma yoga, and that is what holds this place together. Is by serving here, you will transform yourself. You will open yourself up to a greater degree of love flowing through you. Any thoughts about that? Bhakti yoga, karma yoga?
I can only speak to that statement from the last 7 weeks that I've been here. And it's one of the other truths that was really so wonderful. So when they were talking about false gurus, that really resonated with me, because you, especially now with the internet, every day you open your email and there's some other guru sending out an invitation to join his community or buy his program or something, and it's been really a pleasant surprise to come here and be exposed to something that instantly feels true and reliable.
Beautiful.
And proven. I hate to use that word, but
Yep.
Like it feels that way.
Yeah.
That's how everyone here operates, and it's palpable.
Yeah,
Really
it's palpable. It's in action. So karma yoga is really taking your bhakti, your love, and putting it into action, and using that action of selfless service to transform you. And again, as a manager, as a friend, if you can get anybody to realize that what's going on in your life is not an accident. Stop going, why is this happening to me? It's happening to you for a reason. This is your curriculum. Everything that's going on here is spiritual. So join the curriculum, get transformed, and hop in and use what's in front of you to transform yourself and go from the darkness to the light. Now, it also really helps to have a guru who can help guide in that way also, a teacher who can really remind you of exactly that everything is spiritual and everything is happening for the right reason. The next after this is Jnana Yoga. So Jnana Yoga is the yoga of knowledge.
Is that a J?
Yes. The yoga of knowledge, of knowing. So here's the way I like to here's the way I like to put this. I'll give you the last one first. So before I say that. So Jnana Yoga is studying the scriptures. It's studying wisdom of the past. It's studying through the head so that you can create a framework and shift indoctrinations and open up to new ideas. And there's a lot to the knowledge, to the study of scriptures and wisdom. So that is the third yoga. And the fourth yoga is Hatha Yoga. And then later it got turned. Some people would actually say this is the fifth yoga, which is Raja Yoga. But this came really, Raja Yoga came with Patanjali Sutras. Raja Yoga, the king of all yogas, is really talking about the eight-limbed path that Patanjali put out. Now that's only about 2,000 years old versus Bhakti, which is it, Karma, which is the expression of Bhakti, Jnana, which is head, and Hatha, which is body. So here's what I like. This is heart, this is head, and this is body. Now, here's what I think is interesting about these four types of yoga. So when someone is in love, we notice, we see, you're glowing, you look great, you look radiant. So there's a power and a health and a vitality to Bhakti Yoga. When you are in the act of devotion, somebody said, it's palpable. That was you, Rachel. It's palpable. Bhakti Yoga is palpable. I know when I met Amrita Sai for the first time, I walked into his presence and felt my vibration shift. My mind went blank and my vibration shifted. And this was not, I didn't have any expectations. And it was like, oh, literally like the word that came to me was smell. Like I can smell it. I thought love was this thing like in a Hallmark card, like love you, and it was like, whoa, I just got, like love is like, whoa, it's a vibration. Like, that thing just like hit me like, woo, and the vibration itself transforms. So this power of being a bhakti yogi and having the vibration of love, that vibration of love transforms. Now we'll go down to Jnana Yoga. If you know people who have really studied and come to a place in their mind and hold scriptures and truths, it creates a sense of safety and it creates an anchor for people, and people go to them for their wisdom. So there is a light about people who have really studied and have wisdom about them. And then let's go here to Hatha Yoga, which is the yoga of the body, using the body to create health and vitality. And there's a real light to people who put their energy into eating right and exercising right, and but putting energy into making their body be as great as it can be. So we've got this heart, this head, and this body. And then this act of selfless service, as far as I'm concerned, is where it all comes together. In Karma Yoga, the head, the heart, and the body are all in service. And this act of loving others through action. And I think that that's really also the teachings of the Bhagavad Gita, which is get into action. When Arjuna, after hearing Krishna say to him, you're infinite, eternal, and whole. There's, you can't go anywhere. There's nothing you can do. This is it. So the first response to Arjuna is, great. Now that I know that nothing matters, I quit. Not interested. I quit. I'm going to just pull the covers over my head and wait till it's all over. And Krishna says, okay, you could do that, but here's the deal. I'm God, and I put the wheel of action into motion. This wheel of action is turning. Everything is constantly creating. Creation does not end. So you can choose inaction as your action, but don't think that you're not acting. So everything is acting. And eventually, like the river, it's flowing, it's creating. We are happiest when we're in creation mode. We're happiest when we're creating, non-attached to the fruits of our actions. It's not about the form. Just get creating. Get into, who can I serve? What can I change? What can I purify? What can I help? What can I clean? What can I, make better? Can I leave a place better than how I found it? And that is the practice of putting bhakti into motion. What I again love about being here is, this is a place of bhakti and karma yoga. And that really also was the practice of Kripalu Yoga. And I think it is, I think it's the highest path, but it is stated as this is the highest path. Bhakti and Karma Yoga. So
I think it's really interesting, this presentation, because we maybe are a little bit conditioned to think about karma as like, whoa, what are our past actions and what's happening to me now because of what I did before or in another life. But this sheds a whole new light on it in investing, our thoughts and our feelings and our actions into the purpose is selfless service. It's not about like, what did I do that makes me have this right now? It's what am I able to serve selflessly that makes things right? It's like living right.
mm-hmm.
It's a beautiful counterpart to the way maybe some of us have been conditioned in the past to think about karma.
Mm-hmm.
Better not do that because it might, later on.
Right, you add up your karma. And then one of the things that gets said, and I think it was in Ram Dass's book, but it's in the scriptures, talks about how a guru has the ability to lift you from your karma, to release you from your karma. So I just want to talk about that for a minute, about what karma is. Because we tend to think of karma like this, like God's got a big score sheet, and it's all on there, and you got your good karma, you got your bad karma, and you're trying to balance it all out, and it's a bit different than that. Now, there is such a thing as the Akashic records, which is everything, everywhere, always, every thought, every breath, is all recorded, okay? But here's the trick, without judgment. So there's no karma there in, the fact that everything is recorded. What karma is this. The universe, everything in the universe, it is made from love, it returns to love, there is no opposite to love, so everything in the universe wants to be loved. When we get to an enlightened state and we look at someone like Maharaj, he was in love with everything. The good, the bad, everything. He was beyond the veil. He was in love. He was, connected to source. So when we take a part of the universe and we say, ooh, wouldn't want to be like her. Ooh, I would never want to be depressed. Ooh, I'd hate to feel angry. Okay, the moment I do that, I'm resisting an experience in the universe. And I go, oh, I'm going to put that back here. Don't want to be angry. So now I'm going to take some of my soul and my prana, and I'm going to hold back anger back here, and then I'm going to try to control the world so I don't feel angry. Okay? Well, that's karma. That's samskaras. What a guru can do, so it's not like this past, but what happens is if I'm doing this and now I'm trying to control the world so I don't feel that, okay, then what happens is, of course, I'm feeling that all the time, If we take that attention off and we allow ourselves to feel whatever we've resisted from this life or others, and we feel it fully, that karma is released in an instant. And all that resistance created for lifetimes is released in an instant. And a guru, a teacher, a friend, a lover has the ability to say, wow, that thing you've been holding this whole time, we're going to bring it to love. And when it is truly brought to love, like the whole, all of it from this life into past lives gets released. And we can often even access the origin point where we went, at that point when this happened, I decided I wasn't worth anything. And I've held on to that I decided it as a child, but I've held on to it ever since. And in a moment, your love went in and pulled that piece of karma, that decision that I had made about myself, and released it. So it's different than this piggy bank thing, that we like to think of, which is why, I've certainly had that experience many times, that, my gurus and teachers and dear friends have, in instance, released me from karma, as well as selfless service, releasing me from my own ego and karma. Yes?
Where did that shift happen where karma became a bank, like you said? Is that just from Western society, or like how did it go? How did it become?
It's not just Western society.
How did it come into point, so to speak?
Here's why. In every religion and in every philosophy, we can only project onto it who we are. So even though the Bible says God is love, there are plenty of people who read the Bible and they've got, oh my God, and there's Satan, there's this, and there's that, and this, and God, and Judgment Day, and this, and they have a very judgmental, harsh God. We can only project onto something what we are, So if you're in a judgment state of mind and you start to read about karma, you're like, well, I've got this bad things that I've done, and I've got these good things, and, it's natural, but it's not really the way that it works, but it's natural. And that's, it's gonna continue to happen, until, we get lifted from it. But that's a great question. Anything else? Anybody else? Yes?
Do you have any knowledge about ancestral karma? In other words, things that come through us that have to do with our ancestors?
Yes. It exists, not only in our psyches, but in our physical cells. I mean, there's science evidence that we literally, our cells hold the trauma of our ancestors. So that's pretty fascinating, And I like to also go, and we probably were our ancestors. Okay, so yeah, so we were playing those other parts, and now we are playing them again and inheriting ourselves. So, but here's the thing again, we can clear that karma in an instant by coming to, quote, enlightenment, coming to our, where we return to our whole light body, and then that decision that separated us in this life or other lives or our ancestors' other lives that we inherited gets cleared and cleaned. And that's what we're looking for, is that freedom, to get cleared from those misperceptions that we have. And that's really what karma is. It's a misperception. It's a forgetting of who we are. It's thinking that this is who I am, when in fact I'm an infinite, eternal, whole light being, and I cannot be harmed. And, I'm ready to, step into that. And in order to do that, we have to release our karma. So this sort of goes along with it, and I just want to tell this story. So when I moved into Kripalu, I was hell-bent on getting enlightened. And I was going to be the best yogi and eat the right diet and get as close to the guru as possible, and selfless service out the wazoo, and you name it. And from morning till night, I was on practices, and going to do it perfectly. But what I didn't realize until many years later was that was spurred by the fact that I was really unhappy here on the earth. And I wanted off. I wanted out. And I had read that yoga would end the cycle of birth and death, and I was like, I'm not coming back here again. I do not want to be reborn again. I believe in reincarnation. This is my last freaking lifetime, so I'm going to clean it up now, right? I'm going to just do everything I can to just clean it up now. And I remember having an enlightenment moment. I was in the main hall, and I was in meditation, and I had this experience of and now mind you, I'd been there, probably 7 or 8 years, and I was like, you did it. You got what you came for. You can talk to God, God talks to you, you get your guidance, you know how to go. And it was like, in that moment, I had this thing about birth and death, which was, at this point, I know that all there is the present moment, forever. That's all there is. So I don't care anymore whether God says to me, because I'm infinite, Devarshi, you're going to come back for 7,000 more lifetimes. Who cares? What does 7,000 more lifetimes mean in infinity? Nothing. You're coming back next time as elephant poop. Who cares? I'll be elephant poop. You're going to be a cloud. You're going to be a fly. Who cares? It's infinity. I want to be it all. I've got forever. What's time about? And I realized in that moment that the cycle of birth and death had ended. And it wasn't about whether I came back or not and having a last lifetime. It was just give it up. It doesn't matter. Life, not life. There's no opposite to life. So the cycle of birth and an opposite to life, off the cycle. It's like, nope.
Do you remember the song from the 60s? You are everything.
and everything is you. Oh, you are everything. Yes, I do.
Made me think of
I like that. All right, so we're going to wrap it up. Any final anythings? Guru, Karma Yoga, our love and devotion for being here. You know, Swami Kripalu said the single best thing that you can do for your personal spiritual growth is to surround yourself with like-minded people. And that is because of this. When we forget, oh my gosh, we look into the eyes of another who's not forgetting, and they remind us. And it doesn't even have to be said. And I fall, all my attention goes here, and I'm wrapped up in my personal drama. And then I look out at someone who's serving and making things and smiling. And I'm like, oh yeah, whoa, let me get on the track. Oh yeah. So that our help of this community, that's for me why Sangha, this spiritual community is vital in my life. I came to Maui, I was hoping to find my spiritual home. I lived in California for 6 years and worked hard, and I'm good at creating community, and nothing. And then I walked into Maui and I'm like, oh, I'm home. Like, oh my God, my people. So it's important. It's vital for me. It's life force.
Grateful for you here.
I'm glad to be here. So I thought we would end with one chant. And I brought my puja tray, and I thought we would do puja to all of the masters here. But Dasi, do you know things about these pictures? I mean, we've got plenty of Ram Dass. What's going on here?
That's Sai Baba.
This is Sai Baba?
Yeah.
And which one is Sai Baba? Under the umbrella?
Under the umbrella.
I love that. Okay. And, of course, Ram Dass and?
KK, that's his guru brother. That's the gentleman who would translate for the Westerners. One of the devotees that would translate Hindi to English for the Westerners when they got there.
Oh, wonderful.
And Nasima can tell you more.
I love that.
KK was the one who interpreted for Ram Dass the first time he met Maharaji, and Maharaji sent Ram Dass home with KK for a Western meal, which happened to be toast. And when Ram Dass died, we called, or KK was advised of that, and he called, and he was beside himself. And he died 3 weeks later.
Wow.
Yeah, he said,
wow.
I can't go on, there's nothing. Yeah.
Wow. And Amaji,
Amaji.
the Huggin Mother,
Yeah.
and Paramahansa Yogananda,
Yeah.
and
There's Sitima.
Sitima.
Who is the person that Maharaji gave the responsibility of running the temple and his diary.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. And
Nice.
she is a really special lady.
And is she still alive?
She died in 2017, and many people look at her as a guru. Yeah.
Okay. Beautiful. And then Jesus, of course.
Jesus. Ramakrishna back there.
Ramakrishna. Okay. Both of them? No.
No, Gandhi.
Gandhi. Oh, here's Gandhi. Yeah. Lovely.
Yeah, that was Ram Dass added that one.
I love that. And this?
He was.
Anthony Quinn.
Yeah. Vint. Can you?
I've got glasses. So
He was associated with the Seva project when they were working.
Govinda Appa Venta Kamaya Seva. Something Seva.
Yeah.
Co-founder of Seva.
Yes.
Co-founder of Seva. And then we have Maharaji.
Maharaji.
And then?
This is Ram Dass's really first guru is Meher Baba.
Meher Baba.
Yes.
That's great. And this?
This right here is Hari Das, and Hari Das is the person that Maharaji told Ram Dass to take yoga teachings from. So the 6 months that he was there in the temple by himself, it was Hari Das who was his teacher.
Oh, I love that.
And then Hari Das went to America and formed his own community outside of Santa Cruz.
Wow.
Yeah, he died about 2 years ago.
Oh, wow. So again, so
5
many.
years ago.
It's amazing how many have passed on. And this,
This is Gianna,
she's fallen out.
and she was another devotee of Maharaji, and she was considered to be very saintly, very closest friend to Siti Ma.
Oh, nice.
We can fix that
Yeah,
later.
I got it fixed. All right, and then we have Jesus, and then this.
This right here is
Ananda.
Ananda Maya Ma,
Maya.
and Maharaji considered her to be her guru,
Wow.
a brother, and
Wow.
they visited one another's ashrams quite a bit.
Wow.
And the Westerners went over there. Had she was about her how
Uh-huh.
she was totally unworldly.
Mhm.
Yeah,
That and it's
Living embodiment.
yeah.
I thought Polly.
She
Durga and Kali are, in essence, the same thing. And this is,
This is Siti Ma again,
Siti
the
Ma
one
again.
that had the responsibility for the temple.
and I brought Swami Kripalu.
Uh-huh.
That's Bapaji Swami Kripalu. And this,
Is Leahu Ryder, and with her is her teacher, who Ramdas met when he came here in 2004. When he came here to live, he
Mahilani Poi Poi.
Yeah, Poi Poi. And she wrote, she was really touched by Ramdas, wrote a poem. If you go up to the second floor, there's a letter that she wrote to Ramdas. And he ended the retreat, went into the hospital. They didn't think he was going to come out. He had sepsis. This is in 2004. She got sick that same time, was in the bedroom directly underneath him.
wow,
And she died, and he came out.
wow,
Yeah.
wow,
Did she say something like there's a very holy man upstairs or something like that?
wow.
I think so,
I feel
yes.
like I heard that.
And this is Muktananda. This is the one that Ramdas toured around the world with back in the 70s, and he was a big trip. Yeah, and had a lot of Shakti.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And what about over here? I mean, we have Maharaji.
Over here.
Who is this woman? I'm
Yeah.
very fascinated by her.
Yeah, this is more. Here is. We need to update this again, but this, as you probably know, Ramdas always put someone on his puja table that he, as a teacher, but who, if they didn't like, he might not have liked their incarnation, but what he did like was that he loved their being, but not their incarnation. And we had Donald on here for quite some time, and I think it's probably time to put Donald back.
Put him
on.
back.
I got the picture.
I think that's pretty wise. I love how the frame is falling apart. That's pretty
And
funny.
the rest are, there's Ramana Maharshi. Yeah.
Beautiful. All right, so here's my thought. Thank you. This final chant goes like this, and it's a great Guru Purnima chant. So it's the top one in green, and it goes Om Guru, Deva Deva, 2 times. Om Guru, Deva Deva. And then the next line is Aja Ke Ananda Ki Jai. Aja Ke Ananda Ki Jai. Om Guru, Deva Deva. Om Guru, Deva Deva. Aja Ke Ananda Ki Jai. Aja Ke Ananda Ki Jai. Om Guru, Deva Deva. Om Guru, Deva Deva. Aja Ke Ananda Ki Jai. Aja Ke Ananda Ki Jai. All right, so we're going to continue to sing this. You're going to stand up. We're going to light these candles, and we're going to take some of the elements here. And I realized that I forgot to get flower petals, and I meant to. So, do we have a few flower petals?
Blueberry are right there.
There we go. We're going to steal the plumeria flower petals and do a little puja. So come on up. Come up into a standing position. And traditionally, you start puja with a bell. A bell calls on the angels and all the masters, and it also dispels the demons, so it clears the space. And then we go for the light. And Dasi, I'm going to have you come and do the light to all of our masters here, and then to wave it for others. Whoops. It's windy. Let's hope it'll stay. There you go. Here's your arti light. Om Guru Deva Deva. Om Guru Deva Deva. Ajake Ananda Ki Jai. Ajake Ananda Ki Jai. Om Guru Deva Deva. Om Guru Deva Deva. Ajake Ananda Ki Jai. Ajake Ananda Ki Jai. Om Guru Deva Deva. Om Guru Deva Deva. Ajake Ananda Ki Jai. Would you put water on that? Ajake Ananda Ki Jai. Om Guru Deva Deva. Om Guru Deva Deva. Ajake Ananda Ki Jai. Ajake Ananda Ki Jai. Om Guru Deva Deva. Om Guru Deva Deva. Ajake Ananda Ki Jai. Ajake Ananda Ki Jai. Thank you. Om Guru Deva Deva. Om Guru Deva Deva. Ajake Ananda Ki Jai. Ajake Ananda Ki Jai. Om Guru Deva Deva. Om Guru Deva Deva. Ajake Ananda Ki Jai. Ajake Ananda Ki Jai. Om Guru Deva Deva. Om Guru Deva Deva. Ajake Ananda Ki Jai. Ajake Ananda Ki Jai. Om Guru Deva Deva. Om Guru Deva Deva. And Dasi, would you then offer the light to all of them and just sweep? Ajake Ananda Ki Jai. So continue to sing. Dasi's going to offer you the light and you receive it. Deva Deva. Om Guru Deva Deva. Ajake Ananda Ki Jai. Ajake Ananda Ki Jai. Om Guru Deva Deva. Om Guru Deva Deva. Ajake Ananda Ki Jai. And then Allegra, will you take this and I'll offer it to all the gods and then to the people in the room. Om Guru Deva Deva. And then Grace, you're going to offer the water. So just sprinkle it there and then to all the people. Hey Ananda Ki Jai. And be liberal. So this is rice. You're going to offer it over the altar. And then to the people, Om Guru Deva Deva. Om Guru, do you want it? Deva Deva, it's the flower petals. Hey, to the pictures and then to people. Ajake Ananda Ki Jai. Om Guru, I'll give you another light there. No, you're going to take it and you're going to offer it. Deva Deva. Ajake Ananda Ki Jai. Ajake Ananda Ki Jai. Continue to sing. Incense, water, rice, flower petals are all coming your way, so make sure you receive them. Ajake Ananda Ki Jai. Ajake Ananda Ki Jai. Om Guru Deva Deva. Om Guru Deva Deva. Ajake Ananda Ki Jai. Ajake Ananda Ki Jai. Om Guru Deva Deva. Om Guru Deva Deva. One more. Ajake Ananda Ki Jai. Well, Ajake Ananda Ki Jai. Om Guru Deva Deva. Om Guru Deva Deva. Ajake Ananda Ki Jai. Ajake Ananda Ki Jai. Om Guru Deva Deva. Om Guru Deva Deva. Ajake Ananda Ki Jai. Ajake Ananda Ki Jai. Ananda Ki Jai! Woo, woo, woo! Happy Guru Purnima! So the elements of puja means to bless. So they take the elements of the earth, always beginning with the offering of the light. Then there's the incense. May you be surrounded in fragrance. May your aura be clean and fresh. There's water. May you be purified and clean, and may you be in the flow of life. There's rice. May things that you desire manifest with ease into manifestation, into the realm. There's flower petals, which are beauty and the impermanence, how quickly they go. And it's a lovely blessing to do puja. So great to do.